Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We're here with
Jacob Andriola, Jake.
Alright, and he just won his regional flights, a nice mat and the deck box. And what'd you play?
I played Fiendsmith Kashtira.
Oh, that's a very unique choice. Why you choose that? Why not Snake Eyes or Gimmick Puppet or Tenpai?
I love the cash cards. I think they're really, really good in simplified game states, and I didn't want to flesh out the money for Snake Eyes. It's been kind of like a defiancy, this entire format. And I pulled an engraver, and so I just picked up two more. And those cards are a lot of fun to play with, and so it's a deck I know well, and I thought it would be fun.
Okay, alright, let's get into the profile.
Yeah. So for the cash side of the engine, best card, 3 Unicorn. This is your best starter. It's always nice to start with this too, because it just means that if they're going to Veil or Ash and every other stuff, you get to take a peek at that deck, you get knowledge of what they're playing. And you can also start taking away some of their key extra deck cards. The chat of the deck, Fenrir, best card ever printed. I love Fenrir. I will play this in every single deck that I can. I also played, we'll get to that in a second, 3 Pressure Planet. This card's solid. I don't think it needs any explanation. You play 4 of them. That's where the terraforming comes in. I was on 3 Birth. This card's insane. It was actually really funny because a lot of the times I would be opening like Unicorn, Birth, Fenrir, and they're always going to stop the Unicorn search. So just when you open the Birth anyways, it just feels so nice. And then I played 2 Theoses for spells, just because these brick, and so sometimes it's nice to open one, but if you're opening multiples, it can really brick your hand. And this deck's not the most consistent, and because of how tight it is, I'm playing a clean 40. I'm not on Prosperities, so I wanted to limit the chances of opening multiples of these as much as possible. And then I'm on 2 Rise. Normally in Pure I would play 3, but I cut one for the tier cache. There's a reason for this. One, obviously, if your hand sucks, you can mill and bring something off Birth. That happens very, very rarely. But the bigger thing is that it's nice to Theosis for the Scareclaw cache sometimes when you're trying to go for game. And so I'll actually search this one first to extend into an extra body so that I can link climb a little bit more. And then I'll still have the utility of this in the deck. But you could easily just play 2 Scareclaw cache instead. I just like the option to mill if I have to. So that's it for the cache cards. I don't know how much explaining this part needs. I think people kind of understand this at this point. One thing that is really nice is when there's stop your cache cards, because if they see like a Unicorn and a Fenrir, especially if you expose like a tier cache or a Rise Heart, they're going to automatically assume, at least they did today, that you're playing pure Kashtira. And then when you go into the Moon Goddess and you start doing Fiendsmith plays, they get real salty real quick. But it was really good.
Did you ever think running like maybe 2 tracked or tracked and Sancт?
I think it's solid. You could make an argument for, you can't play Sanct because Sanct conflicts with you putting the Kashtira monsters on your board. So we actually did consider Sanct, but if you special one of the caches first, it's dead, and if you do that first, you can't get the free summon. You could make an argument for playing a second tracked if you just want to see this engine a little bit more. This combo itself isn't super strong. You're pretty much just thinking like a Wave King pass. But it pairs well with any of the Kashtira cards because they all go +1. I thought it was solid. I thought it was good. Plus, you have the utility of accessing it with any Link 2s in your extra deck. So this was good. And then as for the non-engine, for the hand trap portion, I was just on 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, and 3 Veiler. Unfortunately, the best Kashtira card you can't play in this version because it conflicts with the Fiendsmiths. So I'm not main decking shit, or I am siding it. We'll get to the side in a little bit. I thought this was fine. The big thing is that as long as you can stop them from making their crazy board, Cash is so good at playing through mediocre boards. Fenrir clears cards, Dark Arm Dragon clears cards. So as long as I can stop them from going full combo, I can probably play through most of what they set up. And then I played Droplet. This was solid going first and second as well. Also helps me play through boards when people try to like stop certain searches. Like if you Unicorn special and then search for whatever people don't do it on summon, they'll always chain to they'll always try to imperm it or Veiler it to the activation, and then you just get Birth for free and then you can bring it back. And then MVP in my little 4-round tournament, I played 2 Tenpai. Cyclone was crazy. This card is so good. Yeah, it's nuts. They activate field spell, they use effect, you just Cyclone it away. It's also just good because sometimes if you get to simplified game states, people will set their imperm, so if you can just remove that one interaction before, you can end up killing them. And then for the 40th card in the deck, I played Called by the Grave, which actually took out Molcharmi in my finals match, so this was solid. Extra deck next. For the links, Requiem, Sequence, Moon of the Closed Sky, IP, SP, and Apo. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I think most decks that are on the Fiendsmith engine are playing this. One thing that's nice, you can make an argument for cutting the IP, but I thought that these two were real solid because you can link climb for free with the cast cards as well, because you can just birth back, and then if you search the tier cast, it turns into like 2 or 3 bodies. This was solid. I went to every single one of these cards. For the fusion lineup, Necroquip, Lacrima, Desiree. That's also self-explanatory. Wave King, I opted for this. There were a couple test hands where you could make Beatrice instead, and then dump and then special back off birth. But the only time that was relevant is if we only opened Tract or Lurie and no cash cards and a birth. And those hands were so niche that I didn't think it warranted playing the Beatrice instead. So I just thought the Wave King was good. This card's also insane against Tempai. And then this is the part where Cash loves breaking boards. Big Eye was solid. Draco Sack, I actually never summoned this, but it's a skill drain out, so I wanted to make sure that it was in my extra deck. Shang, this card is also, I mean, it's Shang. And I never summoned Typhon, but in theory it's good there as well. If you end up playing against Gimmick Puppet and they don't kill you, you summon this and you ensure that they don't burn you to death. I think with the extra deck, I would not make any changes. I liked everything. Only change you could potentially make was swapping the Typhon for a Zeus, but I thought it was fine. Extra deck, the God card. If I'm going second, depending on the matchup, I'll just side these in. I'll just swap the hand traps around. It conflicts with the Fiendsmith engine, but if I see this, I'm only siding these in matchups that it's so impactful that like I can wait a turn to use the Fiendsmith on like the 3rd or 4th turn. Evenly matched. This card's great. I love this card. It's phenomenal. Especially if you bait in the gate, you can just swing the tide so easily with this. And I hate back row decks, so I'm also on 2 Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. You can break monsters really easily, but you actually have to take more time if you have to interact with like Paleo, Lab, Runic Stun. So for those, I'm on Cyclone in the main, but I just wanted a couple more blowout cards. Drool, depending on the deck, can be really good, and then also just for Tempai, I was on 3 Barrier as well. The only card I didn't end up siding in was Drool. This one's very situational, and I was just fine with the cards in the main deck. And Barrier was super solid. This one made my finals match too.
Any notable like moments or?
In my round 1, I went like full nutboard against Branded, and they completely broke my board. The guy opened Dark Ruler, opening for Albaz, fused my stuff away, and then he also super polyed, and then the last card in his hand was Branded Fusion, so I lost that game. But then I won games 2 and 3, it was really good. I think that was it. I played a lot of Tempai, and Cyclone went crazy. So if we're going to shout outs, shout out to that man right there. He convinced me to put Cyclone in my deck, and I would not have won if I didn't. Shout out to my buddies for testing, and shout out to Mark Campos, who told me to play this deck in the main event of the YCS. I decided to play Gimmick Puppet instead and went X3 round 5. I should have listened to him. And yeah, only notable thing with the deck is I would say don't expect it to be the best deck in the room, but it sets up these game states that are very simplified, and I just had a lot of fun playing it. They turned into these really grindy back and forth games, and I thought it was a ton of fun.
All right, for sure, solid. Thank you.